Next, a conversation with Secretary Dan Brouillette and Secretary Chad Wolf, which will be moderated by Fred Fleitz.
Drop stuff.
Hello, CPAC.
Hello, CPAC.
My name is Fred Fleitz. I'm president of the Center for Security Policy, and it is such a pleasure to be here at a conference which is celebrating how our president, Donald J. Trump, is keeping his promises. And one of the most important promises he's made is to make America safe again. And I am so privileged to be here today with two cabinet members and two of the president's leading national security advisors, Department of Energy Secretary Brouillette and Department of Homeland Security Secretary Wolf. And we're going to have a conversation about how these advisors are heading agencies that are doing incredible work to protect our country. So I want to start off with to ask each secretary to discuss within their departments the best example they can tell me about how their departments are keeping us safe. Secretary Wolf?
Yeah, absolutely. I think first and foremost, the president is taking bold leadership to securing our southwest border and restoring integrity to our immigration system. And so the department's doing a number of measures, including building the border wall system along the southwest border. We have over 126 miles built to date, another 230 under construction, and another 400 under pre-construction phase. So we'll have over 450 by the end of this calendar year, and we'll continue to build what the Border Patrol agents on the border say they need first and foremost, which is an effective border wall system, so we'll continue to do that. I will also say that despite efforts from Congress and activist judges, we are also restoring integrity to our immigration system. So we're taking a number of initiatives to make sure that we detain, remove, repatriate, or return individuals that have no legal right to remain in the U.S. Back to their home countries in record amount of time.
Thank you. Secretary Brouillette?
Thank you, Fred. I think one of the most important things we've done in America, especially with the help of the U.S. Department of Energy and other interagency partners, is that we've made America energy independent again. And that's very, very important for us to do. Let's just take a quick step back where we were, say, 1, 2, 3 decades ago. Back when I was growing up a kid in South Louisiana, we relied on other countries, frankly, that didn't have our interests at heart, for all of our energy, What this president has done is turn that around in such a dramatic fashion that it's hard for us to even, begin to believe it, actually. Think about it today. The United States of America is now the #1 producer of oil in the entire world. Larger than Saudi Arabia, larger than Russia. We are now the #1 producer of natural gas in the world. What has that done? It's created jobs all over America. But also, what has it done? It's given this president foreign policy options that no other president has had, at least in my lifetime. It's allowed our president to move a U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem and not have to worry about energy prices around the world. It's allowed our president to take decisive action against bad actors like Soleimani without having to worry about energy prices around the world. It's been a stunning turnaround, and I dare say, Fred, this is only the beginning.
Amen to that. Well, I want to talk about a security threat that's on the minds of all Americans right now, and in which both of your departments are involved in, and that's coronavirus, combating coronavirus. And Secretary Wolf, I'd like to start with you because DHS is very involved in the coronavirus task force, and we know the president has a very aggressive strategy to combat coronavirus. You would not know that from the fake news media, but
right.
I know you know that. Could you talk about how is DHS involved in this task force,
Sure.
and what is DHS doing to combat coronavirus?
What I would say is President Trump was forward-leaning on this. So we were the first country to introduce travel restrictions We were the first country to funnel flights to 11 different airports. And if you recall, the president was criticized for taking that bold action several weeks, over a month ago. Those same individuals are now criticizing this administration for not doing enough. But we continue to push forward. At the Department of Homeland Security, our main mission when we talk about coronavirus is making sure that we're keeping sick people out of this country. So that we do that at airports, we do that at land ports of entry, and we do that at maritime ports of entry. To date, DHS medical professionals, contract professionals, have screened over 50,000 individuals coming into the country that had some nexus to China and other affected areas, and we'll continue to do that. We'll continue to push forward. We're planning for the worst. We're hoping it doesn't come to that, but I think you can rest assured that we're doing everything in our power to make sure that the American people are safe.
Thank you. Secretary Brouillette, the Department of Energy has a very substantial biosecurity operation. Could you talk about how it will be involved in fighting coronavirus?
Sure, absolutely, Fred. We're supporting our partners like Chad and others, the CDC, the World Health Organization, others around the world. For those who are not familiar with the Department of Energy, we run 17 national laboratories. We happen to own the 2 fastest supercomputers in the world. And we are using that capability, the computing capability, as well as our capabilities around not only biosecurity, but also artificial intelligence to help with probabilistic modeling. We want to know how far is this going to spread, at what point might it peak. Those are important things for health professionals to understand and know. We're supporting the efforts of Chad and his agency as well as others. We're also breaking down the virus. We had an important discovery over the course of the last 3 or 4 days where the scientists at our Oak Ridge National Laboratory were able to look at the protein strains and determine, perhaps, so early, that we can find some off-the-shelf drugs that might help us not only cure the disease, but stop the spread of the infection. So those are very important scientific developments that the U.S. Department of Energy is using to support our agency partners.
Secretary Wolf, I have a Homeland Security question for you, and it concerns New York's green light law that allows immigrants to get driver's licenses using foreign documents, and many of us believe poses a significant national security threat. And I know this is something DHS is very involved in. Could you talk about this, and what is DHS doing about it?
Well, I'll talk about it a little bit broader. We have a number of states that have sanctuary policies, which are a very real concern for the department, not only for officer safety for the 66,000 law enforcement officers at the department, but also for those residents and those communities of those states. What New York did here recently was go above and beyond what the other 5, 6, 7 other states have done. So what they've done is they've restricted all law enforcement access to their DMV database. So what does that mean? That means if a Homeland Security investigator is tracking or investigating a human trafficker, a child sex exploitator, any other law enforcement mission, they cannot, when they pull over that vehicle, they have no idea who they're pulling over. They can't run a license plate, they can't see a photo, and it's very, very dangerous. CBP cannot use that information to run customs, to enforce customs laws, to know what type of individuals are coming in from Canada at a number of ports of entry inside New York State. So it's absolutely concerning, it's absolutely unacceptable, and it's dangerous, not only for the men and women at the Department of Homeland Security, but New York residents at large. So we've talked with the governor. We've had very interesting dialogue with the governor, and we'll continue to push. But my #1 priority is making sure that the law enforcement professionals at DHS have the information that they need to do their job. And I'll just end by saying I think it's very ironic that we're having this discussion with New York State, sort of where 9/11 happened. Instead of building down silos, breaking down silos on information sharing, which was our sort of lesson learned after 9/11, we have a New York State and we have a governor who's building up those divisions, building up those silos, and not allowing law enforcement to share information. And it's extremely dangerous, and it's very concerning. And President Trump has taken the lead. The department's taken the lead, and we're going to find a solution, but the solution is going to require making sure that our law enforcement professionals have that access and that information.
Excellent, thank you. Secretary Brouillette, not only is your department pushing energy independence, but you're trying to get Europe to diversify its energy so it is not relying on energy from Russia. Could you talk about that?
Exactly. So, the president went to the NATO conference just a few short months ago, perhaps 18 months ago, and he made a very important point. He said, all of our European partners who support NATO, one, you need to pay your dues. And two, you need to make yourself less dependent upon the very country, the very nation that we are helping protect you from. It's a very important point. And what we've done, because now we are energy independent, we are now exporting energy all across the world. And since President Trump met with the former EU president about 18 months ago, almost 2 years ago now, U.S. LNG exports to the European Union are up 600%. And that's reducing the dependence of all of our European allies on this nation that is, frankly, an adversary. So it's been a tremendous turnaround. And again, it goes right back to the basic Trump philosophy and the basic Trump administration policy toward energy production. And we've moved ourselves from importing to exporting, from dependence to independence.
Thank you, sir. Secretary Wolf, another tough question for you, and that concerns this administration's efforts to safeguard the integrity of our 2020 election.
Absolutely.
This is obviously a homeland security issue, and you and I know that a lot is being done to do this, but the media doesn't report it. So tell us what's going on.
Sure, we have Super Tuesday right around the corner, so we're taking a number of steps to make sure that our elections are safe, secure the election infrastructure, so those are the voting machines that you go in and make your selection, making sure that that is absolutely safe and secure. So we're doing a number of different steps. Our Cybersecurity Information Security Agency at the department is working with all 50 states, over 2,300 jurisdictions, providing no-cost services to test their systems from a cybersecurity perspective. We're also working with the voters and others to what does foreign interference look like? Making sure that as you go on social media and you're on Facebook and Twitter, making sure that you're getting information about your election from trusted sources. And so individuals or things that you may see on there may not be trusted, may not be coming from a legitimate source. In helping you understand that, we're working with the social media companies to pull down information that may be fraudulent as well. So we're doing a number of things, making sure that local election officials have the information and tools that they need. I think what's very important for folks to remember is that state election officials and individual states run elections. We do not want the federal government running elections. States run the elections, and we're there to support them, push information to them, and the tools and resources, and we'll continue to do that. We did that in 18. I think in 18 we saw the most secure election that we've ever held. We're building on that progress, and we'll continue to do that as we look forward to the 2020.
Thank you, sir. Secretary Brouillette, one more question, and it's a big one. We know the Democrats are pushing for the new Green Deal, and we have this really effective energy situation in the U.S. We are energy independent. Talk about what would happen to the United States if we were to sign on to this massive new Green Deal that Bernie Sanders and other candidates are talking about.
You have to look no further than Venezuela for the answer. Once a very rich country, it's a very beautiful country, it is now on the verge of collapse. That is the end result of socialistic policies. That's where this will end up. I feel very strongly that we have the right approach in America. So I'll tell you one quick stat, Fred. Over the course of the last decade or so, we've been able to grow the American economy by 17%. And at the very same time, we've reduced carbon-related energy emissions by 14%. Let me say that again. We grew the economy and we reduced carbon emissions by using an all-of-the-above strategy. So when the president says he wants to pursue all energy sources, he means exactly that. He means nuclear energy, which is zero emissions. He means fossil fuels, natural gas, coal, other fuel sources. It is very important that we diversify and we keep this diversity within the energy sector, because it is what provides us not only the results that I just talked about, but it provides us with both energy security and, as a result, national security.
Quick follow-up question. And you have an initiative to extend battery life. Could you talk about that very quickly?
Absolutely. So that's one of the great uses of coal across America. In America, we are trying to develop battery storage capabilities, not only for the provision of renewable energy, but for grid resiliency. If you have a battery backup to a coal-fired plant, for instance, if whatever reason the coal plant goes down, you have a tremendous battery there to give you the extended power you need for a short amount of time. Very critical in cybersecurity events and other types of events like that. But today we can extract the critical minerals from coal that we need to develop better batteries. So very strong effort at the Department of Energy, a lot of research and development dollars going into this effort, and we're just a few short years away from grid-scale battery storage.
Thank you so much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, This is an example of how your president is keeping America safe concerning energy, concerning homeland security, and we're going to see many more successes in the second term of Donald J. Trump. Please give a big hand to Secretary Brouillette and Secretary Wolf. Thank you.
You guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.